The Fury of Firestorm, number 19, written and art by Dan Jurgens. So last issue, Firestorm beat Multiplex and then saved his mom, Ronnie's mom. And this issue just picks up immediately after that. Multiplex is still out. Ronnie's like, hey, Mom, you okay? And Jason's like, dude, you're in Firestorm. Don't say Mom. And she's like, oh, sorry, ma'am. So at that point, they hear some other voices in the room, and then they're attacked by a bunch of ice daggers. And we see that it's this team of other characters, and there are 4 of them. They'll get introduced one by one, but they are Hyena, Killer Frost, Plastique, and I think it's Black Bison. And they all show up and they're like, hey, we're here to kill you, Firestorm. And turns out that it's not actually about killing him, it's about taking him in. But they all want to kill him. So anyway, Hyena jumps in first, starts slashing at Firestorm. He immediately just blasts him because, as far as we can tell, it's just a dude with a skin condition. But then Black Bison gets involved, and apparently he has the ability to control elements. And so as Ronnie's trying to fly away with his mom, he causes an air current that's so strong, Ronnie loses his grip on his mom. And the mom falls into the arms of Hyena again. And Firestorm flies out the window, bonks his head on a pier, and falls unconscious. So then we see Tanya and Jason's dad, who are following the GPS on Ronnie's mom's phone. And they basically are just reasoning out like, yeah, whoever did this knew that they were Firestorm, and they are going to, like, this is his life now. Like, no matter what, there's always going to be somebody after Firestorm, because as Jason's dad puts it, he's even more strong than Superman. So Ronnie wakes up. He starts to get out of the water, but then he's dragged into a whirlpool created by our 6th member, if you count Multiplex, named Typhoon. And he's like, yeah, I can control water, which Black Bison's able to control the elements, which I assume include water. So why did we need Typhoon? But regardless, he's here, and he's put Firestorm through a whirlpool that turns into an entire fist. Whatever. Point being is he's now out of the water. And he's about to start fighting the team, but Hyena's like, I got this lady, whoever it is, because we don't know the relation here, because apparently Multiplex is keeping that close to the chest. But regardless, he's like, oh, I have to play this strategically rather than all up at once. And so he says, you're right, you have the upper hand, I'll leave forever. And he phases through the pier, pops up on the other side, and then just makes a hole where Hyena was. Feel like you could have done that at any point, but regardless, at that point, Killer Frost jumps in, and she encases both Ronnie and his mom in ice. But it turns out that she has some amount of a biological component in it so that Ronnie can't just melt it away super easily. So she's also laying on the moves on Ronnie this entire time. Just like, oh yeah, how about you, hot stuff? And the mom starts yelling like, oh, get away from her, you sick. And she's about to call her a bitch. But then Killer Frost turns around and like impales her with a couple of ice daggers. Cut to General Eiling, who is just sitting there watching all of this happen on his screens, and he's like, hey, random shadowy figure that we're paying a small fortune, you're up. Go take care of them and Firestorm. It doesn't end up in this issue, so I'm sure next issue we'll see it. At that point, Killer Frost encases Ronnie's mom even more, to the point where she's unable to breathe. Ronnie starts freaking out about it. Multiplex wakes up and he says, hey, we had a deal. I need her alive so that I can blackmail Firestorm into giving me what I need. I need more energy. That's all I've ever wanted. And like, the whole thing is that he just absorbed a bunch of energy at the end of last issue, so I don't know why he wants even more of it now. But regardless, he says, okay, Ronnie, and this is Jason, he's like, Ronnie, you can't use your hands, you gotta use your eyes to send the power over to Multiplex. It's the only way to save your mom. And then he uses his hands and just breaks out of the ice and gives the power to Multiplex anyway. Sure. So at that point, Multiplex has a lot of power. Ronnie manages to break out his mom. Typhoon does a thing with a tidal wave. And then Multiplex breaks into 4 guys who are each much stronger than your average person, and starts beating the crap out of Ronnie. And finally, he's like, okay, Jason, you got any ideas here? And Jason says, yeah, use your powers to shrink their masks so they can't breathe. Genius. And so he does it, multiplexes down again, but there's still 5 others. Somehow the mom has fallen into the hands of Hyena again. And at this point, Plastique finally steps up and she's like, hey, my power is I explode. And we see Tanya and Mr. Rush make their way toward the warehouse where it is. All of a sudden, huge explosion goes off. They freak out, but they see a fiery body coming over, landing on his car. And they're like, oh my God, is that them? Are they okay? And lo and behold, it is Firestorm. But Tanya thinks that he's dead because he doesn't look so good. Okay. I just really want to lay down that next issue is the last issue. I really want you to understand that before I give my review. Is that next issue is the final issue of this series. They know it's the final issue. They are working towards that. We just got introduced to 5 separate characters, each of which needed time to develop, and let's not forget the shadowy figure that General Eiling is employing next issue. That means next issue we're going to have to be introduced to yet another new character in the final issue. That's, I think, the biggest problem I have with this particular set of issues. It felt like Dan Jurgens really had this story in mind. Like, he really wanted to tell this story of, oh, this group of 6 villains coming after Firestorm, and they're all like people from his past, like continuity-wise. But he didn't have the time. He didn't have the ability to, but he insisted. And it just feels so insanely rushed and so lacking any sort of consequences that I can't get behind it, you know? It doesn't feel like a good story. It just feels like, hey, let's throw this at the wall and see what sticks before we hit the end. I can't even begin to tell you where it's going, but that doesn't feel like it's a mystery. It just feels like, okay, you're just going for wacky and zany. That's all it is. You really wanted these 6 different people here, and we're just going to roll with them. Either way, I got to give this one like, I'm going to say like a 5.5. I'm just going to go flat 5, honestly. It's not awful in any way. It doesn't make me like dislike things that I've previously liked. It's just an average comic. It is like, if you think, hey, here is a superhero just beating up a bunch of people and getting beat up for an entire issue with no stakes whatsoever, this is it. It's not awful dialogue. It's not awful art. It's perfectly mediocre in every way. And it's not a good way to even get close to ending your series. So I really hope that he pulls something out of his sleeve for next and final issue.